Hello, and welcome to this video on AI for reading. Reading complex or lengthy documents and emails can be challenging when you're dyslexic, particularly when you are short on time. So in this video, we're going to explore how AI can help you manage challenges related to reading complex text. We'll use ChatGPT, but you could also use other AI tools such as Microsoft's Copilot or Google's Gemini. So step by step, we'll show you how you can use ChatGPT to help you to, number one, get an overview of a document. Number two, simplify and condense complex language. And number three, explain key terms, concepts, and jargon. So let's switch over now to ChatGPT and see it in action. So I want you to imagine this. You work for a small to medium-sized business and your team has an important meeting coming up, and it's to discuss a new policy statement that's just been publicly published. For example, let's say it's the local enterprise offices policy statement for the period of 2024 to 2030. With only a few days to prepare, you're going to need to quickly read through the document, understand its contents, highlight the key takeaways, and be ready to respond to any questions that might come up. So how can ChatGPT help speed up this process for you? So we are going to now break that down step by step. We are going to start by uploading the actual policy statement to ChatGPT. So remember when we are doing this that we should remove any personal or sensitive information before sharing with ChatGPT. In our particular case, the policy statement is already publicly available, so no changes are needed before uploading. So let's upload it using this plus button here. And we're going to go to Add Photos and Files. And we're going to click on this. So we've already saved this prior to creating this video. So let's press open. And it might maybe take a moment or two for it to upload. So we want to first of all get a high-level overview of the policy in order to quickly understand what the document is all about. So we can use a prompt like this. So provide a brief overview of this policy statement. And let's press enter. Okay, and we get the following results. So this document, it provides a nice, clear overview of the policy, and it outlines the strategic direction of the local enterprise offices from 2024 to 2030. So then it goes on to say that it focuses on supporting entrepreneurs, micro enterprises, and small businesses through tailored advice, funding, and development supports. So it also outlines the key priorities, and these key priorities are in relation to decarbonisation, digital transformation, supporting locally traded sectors, growing Irish-owned exporters, and boosting innovation. So each one of these key priorities is elaborated on a little bit further, but we aren't given too much information. We are just given the most important information, the key messages that it wants to get across. So that is a nice, short, concise overview to help us get started and to give us that overview, that high-level understanding of what the policy document is actually about before we then maybe deep dive into further details. So when you are going through a document like this, there might be maybe parts of it that contain sentences and paragraphs that are overly long and flowery. In instances like this, we can simplify the language so that it's easier to digest. So take, for example, this paragraph, which I'm now going to copy and paste into ChatGPT. This is the paragraph here. So we have, there is considerable scope for innovation in the design, development and delivery of carbon neutral products and services. New business models will emerge and SMEs can gain a competitive advantage by staying close to the customers and communities they serve, delivering sustainable alternatives to carbon intensive offerings. Okay, so the second sentence there in particular is very, very long. I was almost out of breath after reading it. This particular sentence could easily be split into two sentences to make it more digestible and to make it easier to read. Phrases here like carbon intensive offerings, and that's a little bit jargony. The phrase by staying close to the customers and communities they serve. That there as well is quite vague. It would be much easier to read if it were written in a much more direct and concise manner. So in other words, keeping the sentences short and also as well, using more plain language. I'm going to say, simplify this paragraph, making it easier to understand. And let's press enter. Okay, and this is what we get. So there's a big opportunity for small businesses to create and deliver products and services that don't harm the environment. So there you have that in plain language. So rather than saying, where it says up here, there is a considerable scope for innovation in the design, development and delivery of carbon neutral products and services. So in other words, carbon neutral products and services are products and services that don't harm the environment. So that's easier to understand. I know exactly now what carbon neutral products and services are. So then it goes on to say, new ways of doing business will appear. Okay, that's straightforward. And SMEs can stand out by working closely with their customers and communities, offering greener options instead of the ones that produce a lot of carbon. So again, that sentence, while it's still a little bit on the longer side, it is easier to understand. So up here it said, SMEs can gain competitive advantage by staying close to the customers and communities they serve. So staying close there, that is a little bit vague, but here it's clearer. So they're saying here SMEs can stand out by working closely with their customers and communities. So in other words, by working alongside of them. Also, instead of saying sustainable alternatives, delivering sustainable alternatives, they've said here offering greener options instead of ones that produce a lot of carbon. So carbon intensive offerings are essentially options that produce a lot of carbon. So it's just really simplifying things for us. Okay. So also when you are going through this document, there's bound to be maybe terms that you don't fully understand. So in this particular document, not everybody will understand or be familiar with the term decarbonisation. So if this is the case, we can actually ask ChatGPT what decarbonisation means. So let's use this prompt. What does decarbonisation mean? And let's see what it brings up. Okay. And it gives us this result. So I can already tell by looking at this, it's a little bit on the longer side. So I also can see by looking at it as well that this is all one sentence, so it's very wordy. So what do we do in that case? So in this case, we could say to ChatGPT, can you explain in plain language? And let's see what it comes up with. Okay, and this is what it brings up. So decarbonisation is about cutting down the pollution that causes climate change, especially carbon dioxide from burning coal, oil, and gas. Okay, so that is much more simpler than this sentence up here, where it says decarbonisation means reducing or removing the amount of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases released into the atmosphere from activities like producing energy, manufacturing goods, or transporting people and products. So it's a much, much shorter sentence and it gets more to the point, this one down here. Okay? And here the language is just simpler. So it just is simply and explicitly saying it means switching to cleaner energy, using less energy overall, and finding better ways to make things or travel so less carbon gets released into the air. Okay? And then, in short, it's about doing the same things we need to do, but in a cleaner, more climate friendly way. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to check out our next video on AI for reading, part 2. In that video, we'll explore how you can use AI to help you highlight important points and also to test and to reinforce your understanding.